Hello everybody and welcome back to the Oxbridge Formula as we bring you the ultimate guide to colleges at Oxford and at Cambridge. Today we are delighted to have Toffy, Sophie and Sophie with us, giving you a first-hand insight into real life at Pembroke College in Oxford. So remember, our support doesn't stop here. At the Oxbridge Formula we also offer a variety of in-depth online sessions and intensive courses aimed at best preparing you for applying to Oxbridge subjects, particularly STEM as well. And you can visit our webpage for more information about that, and there will be some links in the description below so you don't have to go looking everywhere. And don't miss out on our blog for more content on the student life and experience at Oxbridge colleges. So, hi guys, how are you doing today? Weird times we're in at the moment. I can't believe we're having to do this over StreamYard and not face to face. So I'm sorry about that. So let's get to know you. I wonder if we could go around and you could tell us what subjects you study and how long have you been here at Pembroke College? So, Toffy, do you want to go first? Or?
I do psychology and linguistics, and I've been at Pembroke for, I guess, a year now. Although, obviously, part of that has been not in Pembroke, but yeah.
I'm sure you can officially say it's been a year. I know it's felt like one. But yeah, we have just all finished now. So. And Sophie Lewis, what about you?
So I study history and English, and I've been at Pembroke for 2 years-ish.
So if you got 1 year left in your course, is it a 3-year course?
A 3-year course. I'm technically a finalist now, which is scary. But
wow! Got a finalist with us, woo! And Sophie Dunley, what do you do?
Yeah, I'm doing modern Greek and linguistics, and I've just finished my first year too.
Woo! Okay, nice. So we've got that experience behind us. But I wonder if we can cast your minds back a little bit. And if you can remember, why exactly did you choose to apply to Pembroke, or did you choose at all? Did any of you put in an open application or get pulled?
Yeah.
You're nodding, Sophie.
I applied twice, and both years I applied to a different college. But both times was pulled to Pembroke for interviews. And second time I applied, I was like, oh, I do love Pembroke, but I don't want to be interviewed by the same people again. It just happened that, again, I was pulled, and then I was given my offer to Pembroke. And I think it just shows that actually you've got to trust the pooling system and they know what's right for you. And I knew that Pembroke felt like the right place for me. So I was a bit silly for not applying there second time, but no, I'm so happy that it's ended up.
Maybe it was meant to be. Yeah, oh, that's lovely. Yeah, that is a good point about the pooling system actually, is that it's really great that they know if you're meant to be at Oxford, then they will find a space for you and you will get to be here. What about other Sophie? Did you apply directly or?
Yeah, so I applied directly because so history and English is quite a small course. There's about like 14 of us, like university wide, so it's quite
wow.
Yeah, and only a few colleges actually have history and English students. And so I went to the open day, and I talked to a tutor from Pembroke and a student who's doing history and English. And by that point, I was like, I'm kind of sat on this, like, I don't want to do anything else. And so the student I spoke to was like really lovely, down to earth, really reassuring. And the one other person I knew in my life who'd applied to Oxford had applied to Pembroke. Not God,
a sign.
But they loved it. So I was, and I went to see it, and it does feel like so homely when you walk in. And I wasn't really aware at that point, like what differentiated different colleges or what I should really be looking for. So I kind of just went in like, oh, I'll just apply here, see what happens. And it paid off. I love it, and I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. So.
Oh, I'm glad. It's interesting you say about there only being a small number of colleges that do offer your subject. Do you know what the other ones are? If someone's looking to apply for history and English and they can't apply to Pembroke.
They do change every year. There's normally like a set sort of set colleges that apply and that hold it, but I think more colleges are looking to like have it, and we're trying to expand the course. There is a list online, so I won't know off the top of my head, but if you go onto the history and English page on the Oxford University website, it will all be there. and you can have a peruse. And if anything, it makes your decision making easier because there's fewer colleges to pick from.
Yeah, it can be quite overwhelming, can't it?
Yeah.
So what about Toffee? Was it like a kind of gut feeling thing, or did you take a more roundabout route to get to Pembroke?
I originally applied to a different college because on the open day I was like very overwhelmed and I just did not know what was going on because I'd like barely even decided to come to Oxford, and then it was like all of this and I didn't understand what a college was, and so I was just like, are these just like different, but I didn't get it. But I applied to a different college, and then during interview I was interviewed at that college and at Pembroke, and then after interview my offer was for Pembroke, which stressed me out a lot because I was like, oh, I didn't really go around Pembroke. Even during interview, I just sort of like went for my interview, then went back to the original college. I didn't really like spend a lot of time around. So I went to Pembroke over Easter to get a guided tour by one of the people who did my course. She's left now. And then again in July for like the offer holder day. And it was really good. And as I was walking, because I think I was just like worried because I didn't really know like a lot about Pembroke. I mean, I didn't know a lot about Oxford anyway, but less so about Pembroke. But sort of going around talking to the students and the tutors and stuff, I really felt like, okay, I could see myself being here for 3 years. I would be very comfortable here. And I was right, because I've been really happy since I came in October. So yeah.
Oh, yay. Oh, well, I'm glad to hear you're all happy at the college that you've ended up at in your different ways. But I think that is really important, because I know the way that I chose my college was, like you said, getting the chance to kind of go in person. It gives you kind of a feeling that you can't really get from kind of reading things, and you have to talk to the people, I guess, than just see the buildings and things like that. So when you did kind of arrive there, what did it feel like, Toffy? Did you think did you settle in well? Was the Freshers Week experience a positive thing?
Oh yeah, definitely. At first I was like quite like anxious just because it was a whole new thing and it was like Oxford, so there was just like a lot. It felt like a lot to live up to, and I just felt like, oh, I don't know if I'm really gonna like fit in here. But like after a couple of days of just sort of like being in college and being with all of the other freshers and first years and second years and everything, I really like the anxiety sort of went away a bit, because I felt like as I was having conversations and stuff, I felt sort of very comfortable, and I didn't really feel like outside of anything anymore. It felt like, yeah, like this is a community that I could be part of. So yeah.
Oh, lovely. And Sophie, Lewis, I know it was a bit longer ago for you, but can you remember kind of how it felt to first move into this college?
Yeah, it's so daunting because I suppose you have all these expectations of what it's going to be, and it ends up being completely different.
In what way is it different?
I think you have a sort of like idea in your mind of, I don't know, what the accommodation is going to be like, or I don't know what people are going to be like, but it's never like your expectations from people kind of never really meet it, and especially the stereotypes of what Oxford students are like. I would argue that like people I met first at Pembroke weren't like that at all. And so, I mean, I loved Freshers Week. I think it was easier for me making friends because I've made friends at interviews, which is something I worry about for like the kind of incoming cohort that are interviewing this year, is whether they'll have the same experience, because I think that's really worthwhile often. And I think the collegiate system is so great in making you feel really secure through the whole of Freshers Week and like all the activities that are available. And if you do go out, like having people there and a really engaged JCR, like being there for you the whole time. So I love that aspect, and it kind of made me want to be involved in college life because of it. Yeah.
Oh, that's really nice. So it was a positive first impression, I guess. It's not so much about this breaking the stigma, I guess. And Sophie Donnelly, so we've talked about they put on a lot of things in Freshers Week to kind of immerse you into college life. Do you remember, were there any events that you attended that really appealed to you or made a difference?
Yeah, I mean, I wanted to get as stuck in as possible in the first week. I was like, well, I did go out a lot more in that week than I did for the rest of the term.
Didn't we all?
Yeah, may as well. I mean, actually, no, matriculation was at the end of first week, but that was a true highlight, I think, for me, because that's when you actually realised you're actually part of this community. And I think it was just so special. Like, the adrenaline brought you through the day. The excitement was just unreal, like, genuinely. And yeah, I think by the end of that day, it was just kind of everything, the thrill, and just almost, yeah, the kind of whole letting it sink in that you were actually part of this university was just amazing. But yeah, it's not quite freshers, but first few weeks.
Yeah, it's Saturday of first week, I believe, isn't it? I think, yeah, matriculation, I mean, it's worth explaining for anybody watching this that it's like the big traditional Oxford ceremony where you're like sworn in as an official member of the university, and like everyone dresses up in their gowns and things like that, and it does feel very special, and tourists following you everywhere. It's quite surreal. So yeah, I guess that's something worth talking about, because a lot of people, when they think of the Oxbridge experience, they think of the traditionalism, and they picture everybody in their gowns, which we don't wear every day. I think it's worth mentioning. But for example, for your formal hall, are you expected to wear your gowns for that? Could any of you tell me a bit more about how formal dinners work at Pembroke?
Well, it's kind of Pembroke's, I suppose, unique in that it's formal, but it's also not formal. So we have like this common thing that we always say is like, oh, you can just chuck your gown over your pajamas and go. But it's like, so you wear normal clothes and then just wear the gown that you have, like we normally wear for very set occasions. And then for Pembroke, we have like a set amount of formals each week for every term. So the first term it's 3 formals a week, second term it's 2, and then last term it's 1. But only first years have to go as like a compulsory thing, whereas second years can like just go if they want to, the same with third years. But it does mean that there's like lots of people there, which I always thought was quite nice, and like you have a very like set amount of time to like chat and not do work, which I think again is really special. And we did a thing in my year where it got to like the middle of the year and everyone was in their set groups, but we were kind of like, oh, actually we're not sure that this is the best way to go, and sitting down in formals with the same people every week. So we did this thing called mixed up formal, where we'd go in and sit by anyone like that we didn't normally talk to or didn't know, and it meant that our year group was quite like mixed up and everyone knew everyone because of it.
Oh, that's so nice.
Yeah, so that was nice. And I kind of miss it anyway, because I haven't been to formal this year, apart from formals.
I'm quite interested to hear that it's like a compulsory thing in first year, because I know at Somerville, for example, it's not that way, and we have formals a lot more often, but it's not, you know, a must attend kind of thing. But yeah, the 3-2-1 pattern of having things, we have our bops, which is a very different kind of social event, I must point out. It's more of like a fancy dress party. But yeah, we have 3 in Michaelmas first term, 2 in Hilary term, and then 1 in final Trinity term. And I think that's mainly because they do have your workload in mind. And some people, like our psychology and linguist here, do have to do exams at the end of their second term. So it's nice that they're being considerate of that with the way that they plan out their formal dinners. But what about kind of the dining hall on like your average day? Is the food nice? Do you go very often? I don't know if either of you first years can tell me a bit more about how you found that.
Yeah, the hall is beautiful. I think food-wise, there's a huge mix. There's always a themed night on Tuesday. It's always roast on Monday. So, you know, you have those things to look forward to each week. Fish Fridays, classic. Yeah, no, the food, I'm sure it's like anywhere. It's kind of, sometimes it's amazing and sometimes it's just not your favourite thing. But no, on the whole,
But you have a choice, right? So yeah, I guess it's not end of the road. I mean, I'm a vegetarian, for example. So Toffy, if I kind of came and had dinner with you guys, would there be something for me? Or
Yeah, they are really good at that, to be fair. That is one of the things I would say, that the catering staff, there's like virtually always a vegetarian and vegan option for people. And if you have like allergies and stuff, they're pretty like good at sort of working out ways for you to get food without having to like not have as much. So yeah.
That's really nice. So everyone can be included. That's really important. So we've talked a bit about. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
They did this thing for guest formal, which is like a kind of, I think it happens once a term, where you can invite family and friends. It's a bit more expensive, but it's like nicer food and like very classy. And they did this thing where it was like the default menu was all vegan, and so you actually had to opt out for meat. And it meant like, so I managed to persuade my parents to go vegan for the night, and the food was just like, it was stunning. I was so impressed, and they put so much effort into like finessing all the 3 courses, and even the wine was vegan.
The important stuff.
Yeah, they're making a big effort recently to kind of explore vegan and vegetarian cooking more, because I think there was a lot of feedback from students that we think that's important, and they listen to us. And the catering staff are so good at that, and they've been great during coronavirus. Like they've recently been feeding homeless people like 100 meals out from the Pembroke kitchen, just because they'd stayed open for the few students that were still in college. And so they're like really lovely people, and they're so keen to like listen to students and get to know them and put on stuff for us. So yeah.
I guess that's great peace of mind for you all, whilst you can't physically be there at the moment, but they're still making a positive difference. And I think, wow, yeah, all those kind of options you can have for the guest nights and things, that seems at the moment to still be quite a unique thing. So credit to Pembroke for that. So we've talked a bit about the kind of facilities that your college offers, but I wonder if you could tell me a bit about your living spaces. So if you lived there in interviews, what was that like, and did that kind of influence your expectations, Sophie? And then how was your accommodation when you actually did move in?
Which Sophie?
Well, I mean, other Sophie, you didn't stay there, did you? Or
I can't. So I actually did, but that's just my application.
Oh, then both of you could let me know.
No, I came up in September for my interviews and things, just because I had a slightly different process. So I was there in December, and my room was incredible. It was like a 2-story room, so it had
what?
It had the ensuite was like down some steps in the room, and then the room itself, it was amazing. It had little balcony. Well, you couldn't really go out onto them, but you know, they were there anyway for the picture. And this huge room. And I think I was just sat there, I was thinking, this is what Pembroke has as accommodation. Like, wow, this is insane. And I mean, I had to, well, didn't have to, but I have a piano in my room. And so I put that onto my form when I was applying for accommodation. And so, yeah, I was given quite a big room in a different block. But Pembroke has a system, which is, so you have banded rooms, and they're all slightly different. So A and B are kind of standard non-ensuite rooms, and then D, E, and F are with ensuites and vary in size. So I was put into a B room, which was, yeah, really, really quite big. And I think I was very lucky. But yeah, it was just different. But the thing is, you just go around and see that all, I think the charm of Pembroke is having such different kind of accommodation blocks, and all the rooms just being so different, and yeah, their style is just so different. So I mean, yeah, expectation wise, I didn't really know what to expect, because it was kind of, you could get anything. So yeah, I'm very happy. So
yeah, I mean, I guess with people coming to live at Pembroke have very different kind of requirements, and what, you know, some people really prioritize the accommodation, and other people just rather be surrounded by nice people. So other Sophie then, so if somebody was more of a social type, is there an accommodation block in Pembroke that you would recommend?
I think for first year, it doesn't really matter, just because like wherever you are, you'll make friends, like in your block, outside your block. Most of my friends lived in different staircase, like which was like next door. So all first years all live on one quad anyway. So it's not, I don't think it makes a difference to your social life particularly. In second year, so I'm now like living where I was put for interviews, which is really nice and like new ensuite rooms. And the way that we have it is it's like there's like 10 rooms in a shared kitchen. And then you can pick who you live with. And that's been really nice because it's basically like being in a flat with your friends, but on site.
Yeah.
That's really important. And I like that Pembroke like prioritises that. And for the 3 years of accommodation they offer, again, for third year, you can be very choosy about who you want to live with. And I think that is great because it's just like, it's nice to live with people that you spend all your time with anyway. And so that's cool. And then that's really close to the college cafe. And then you have a flexible meal plan, so you can just spend money in the college cafe or in hall and be with your friends. And like, it's a nice way of living. I miss it.
And it's a real plus that you like can, as you say, like live with your friends, but still be on site, because I know not all colleges offer that, and Oxford really isn't like other student cities in living out. It's a bit more difficult, so it's really nice that Pembroke can offer that for you. So I guess, we talked about kind of why you lived in interviews, and I guess moving in, that's a really big deal when you're going to university for the first time. So I don't know, Toffy, did the college do much to kind of prepare you, or was it a bit of kind of a shock? Was it all at once?
I mean, I sort of knew what I was going to be like taking with me and stuff. Although they do sort of have like they do sort of give you like a little list of like things that you don't have to bring, things that you can borrow, etc. So like, for example, you can like borrow a mini fridge from the college if you don't want to like buy and bring your own. So
Oh wow.
those things are sort of like helpful to be able to sort of consider when you're moving in. But yeah, when I got there and I brought all my stuff, when you get there in Freshers Week, we had the JCR and the student helpers help move all of our stuff into our rooms, which was like so helpful because the amount of stuff I had was ridiculous. But yeah, and I got to my room and I really liked my room. I had spent a lot of time in my room. I was very fond of it. It was a band B room, so it was actually quite spacious, and it had like a little built-in to the wall like wardrobe thing. But yeah, I'd say the accommodation is like pretty. I'd say virtually whatever room you get, you're gonna be pretty happy with it.
You're really selling it to me, I can't lie. But it is a good point that sometimes there isn't that much information out there about like what to expect when you are moving in. And I think it's probably a good point that I could mention is that if you are at a loose end, anybody who's watching this, if you're looking for kind of information and preparation towards moving in, whether that be like the academic side of things or just general logistics and all the things that you're going to have to bring with you, very small things that you need as study companions, but I was always missing some stationery that I didn't realise I'd need for a linguistics course, for example. So for all those little things that you won't really find written elsewhere, then please do check out our blog at the Oxbridge Formula, and I will leave a link below so you don't have to go searching. Or you can hang around and look out for our book as well, which will have lots of in-depth details about all the little ins and outs of life at Oxford. But anyway, guys, I can't forget about, it's not all about being inside the college. You've also got to think about the city around it. So for people who don't know the city as well as perhaps we do, maybe who could describe the college's location. I don't know if that's something that's quite important to any one of you, or...
I love that it's very central, because you're literally out on the high street in a matter of minutes. And I find Oxford very strange because it's quite a small city. Like, to me, it's not really a city. So when people say places are far, by far they mean like a 15-minute cycle max. And I find, I'm from Cardiff, and I used to cycle to school, which was like a half an hour cycle. So it's
and that's what you'd call a city. So.
Yeah. But it is lovely because you can literally be at your lectures, to the library in like a shot from Pembroke. And I tend to cycle places, which makes everything like 5 minutes. So it's wonderfully located, and there's like just tons of cafes and restaurants and things to do around. And we're really close to Westgate Shopping Centre, which is very dangerous in that you could have a library break and then be like, have bought like 5 items in 20 minutes. But it's really nice to be like, I don't know, close to all like the bustle. I really enjoy that personally.
And when you say the libraries, I assume you mean like the big kind of central Bodleian and Radcliffe Camera. Do you mean those libraries? They're not too far, are they?
They're not, no. So Radcam is my favourite, and I'll often be there till close. But literally, so it's probably about like 7 minutes from my room to the Radcam at a speed walk. Yeah, and then Pembroke Library is great as well. So lots of options.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah,
and that's even closer. And just thinking about the location of Pembroke, something comes to mind. I remember somebody asking me a long time ago how I thought it must feel to kind of live in the shadow of kind of big colleges. For example, you have Christchurch over the road, which is like tourist heaven. How does it feel being kind of close to places like that, or does it not make much of a difference having that across the road?
Yeah, I don't think it makes much difference, because it's almost like when you walk into Pembroke, it's suddenly an escape from the tourist kind of bustle. Yet you are very much still part of that whole kind of site. I mean, my favourite thing is actually being in Pembroke Library and being able to see the Tom Tower from there, and it just kind of, you get the nice view of Christchurch, or at least a glimpse of Christchurch.
Yeah, it's there.
Yeah, exactly. But
lovely.
I think there is a bit of rivalry as well between Christchurch and Pembroke, just friendly
Oh,
rivalry,
really?
like sports wise. But no, I mean, I think there is a kind of almost St Aldate's bond as well. So
which sports teams would you say are like the most competitive?
Football.
Okay, fair. I was thinking maybe like boat club kind of thing. I know it's very typical, especially. I mean, I guess the Isis River isn't too far away either, is it, for you? So that must play a big part. But Toffy, what about faculties and places that you need to go for your lectures and that, for example? Is the college in quite a convenient location for you?
I mean, because of the size of Oxford, I feel like everything is pretty close. But I also feel like, for me, like getting to like the psychology department, the linguistic departments and stuff, it was never really an issue. Like I would, like if I had a lecture at like 10 or something, I could leave at like 1:45 and still get there in plenty of time to sit down and like organize all of my stuff and everything. Same thing with tutorials. So I never really felt like I was like too out of the way or anything, especially because like I have like my psychology stuff and where I have my linguistic stuff is like nowhere near each other, but it was never really an issue.
I'm sure someone would be really glad to know that if they were applying, that it doesn't really matter too much. So I guess that leads me on to a kind of final question for you guys, and that is, what is one thing which, or maybe a couple if you can't narrow it down that much, that you wish you would have known before coming to Pembroke, or something that's occurred to you which you'd never really thought about as an applicant? I know it's a hard one to think about, so if anyone comes up with something, feel free to jump in.
I think personally, like when applying, I had this view of like the bureaucracy of Oxford being this like faceless thing, and like the colleges that you're applying to being like unkind and like wanting to spurn you. Just because I think like going to a state school and the way that people talk about applying to Oxford is very like, there's so much mystery around it, and it's so many weird things that could happen in interviews, but actually like it's not that at all. And all they want is to find people that love their subject and want to like work hard and become brilliant academics. And from being on the JTR committee this year, I've got to work with I think every single department in Pembroke College, and I'm like, I have a rapport with all of them, and they're all really kind, lovely people. And especially where access is concerned, they're always trying to do the best they can by their students and by the people applying. And they're trying to like diversify their intake and support students from low socioeconomic backgrounds and all of that. And I think for me, it's been so encouraging to actually see the people behind that faceless facade and realize like what the admission process actually looks like, and realize that it's not so murky, it's actually quite transparent, and there's so many systems of accountability in place. And yeah, that for me, that's been encouraging. And then on a second note, on the financial side, like there's so many scholarships available. So I didn't realize that I would be eligible for a scholarship when I came. And for me, that was such a great support, because it meant I didn't have to think about like working during my degree or anything like that, which I think with the workload of Oxford is such a weight off my shoulders, and for many other students in the same position. And Pembroke have hardship grants and things like that to support people who have like exceptional circumstances. And that's something I wasn't aware of when I applied, but I feel more people should know about it, because I suppose there's this assumption that Oxbridge is more expensive to study at, but I don't think that's the case, because they are trying to support people to come to the university so they can study. So it's not about your background, but just about like how you apply yourself and your love of your subject again. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that with us. Yeah, I guess that's really important to know, actually, because that could put off quite a few people from applying if they didn't think that that support, kind of social or financial, is going to be there. I think also it's worth explaining to anybody watching this about what your role actually concerns in the JCR, kind of the student body that kind of represents the undergraduates, the junior common room. What role did you take on in your second year?
So I was access, or I still am, access and social rep for the JCR committee. So the JCR, I'm going to totally touch on this, it's the junior common room. So like in other universities, the student union, but our student union plays a bit of a latter role, but the JCR is like the college student body. And the committee kind of represents you on a college level for like sort of liaising between college and the students, but also in just like getting stuff done and passing motions to get finances for certain things, things like that. And so I was kind of, a lot of my role was actually coming to college meetings and being there as like a student voice in access policy, about like how we outreach the students from certain areas in the country, how we support them when they're here, and all that kind of stuff. It's a lot, but it was really, really interesting. And I felt that I was in a really good position to actually make change, which I think is, yeah, it's a great place to be.
It's good to know that, you know, you feel like points are being addressed and people's voices are being heard. I think that's really, really important when you're a student at Oxford and in a college. So, Toffy, what about you? If you were to kind of give one piece of advice to your past kind of pre-Oxford self, what would it be? Do you know?
I think when I was coming, I was really anxious about, because obviously there's all this stuff about like sub-first and all of like the formal outfits you have to wear and all these formal events, and I think I was just really stressed that I was gonna like mess up and do something that I wasn't like supposed to do, and I wasn't like gonna fit into like the whole Oxford thing. But honestly, I feel like once you get here, all of the traditions, they are a bit like weird from time to time, but I feel like they can be like a lot of fun, and it's just something like different that you might have never done before, because like I never really did the whole like formal outfits, like these dinners where you get like served things or whatever. But I feel like if you just sort of allow yourself to enjoy it, it can be really fun. And I think that sort of you might sort of feel like, oh, you're gonna like do something wrong or anything, but see, I feel like most people when they get to Oxford, they have no idea what they're doing either. So I feel like you can sort of bond over the whole like ridiculousness of like your first formal dinner where you're like trying to figure out what to wear and everything, or like all of these things. So I feel like it can sort of be daunting, the whole like mystery, I suppose, shrouding Oxford or whatever. But I think when you actually get here and you're actually in the community, in the university, it's a lot less daunting than it seems.
Yeah, that's so true. Honestly, I don't think I ever had my stuff together at all, like up here or whatever else. And when you're with your friends doing all of this kind of, you know, Oxford tradition kind of stuff, like the matriculation, as we said earlier, it can just become a bit of a laugh, and it is actually quite fun. It really isn't all that kind of stern and no nonsense stuff which you somehow come to expect. So, Sophie, is there anything that Toffy and Sophie Lewis have not touched upon which you think is worth mentioning?
Yeah, I mean, I think what both Sophie and Toffy have said is just so right. But I think one thing which I almost forgot was that the tutors are human as well. And I think when you're at an interview, you're so, well, you're quite terrified. I think even on arrival, you're sat there thinking, oh my gosh, they're these incredible academics. But actually they're so understanding. In an interview, they try to make you feel at ease as possible. And they totally understand what you're experiencing on the other side. So I think, yeah, just being open and relaxed and being able to chat to them is just such a positive. But it took me a while to actually figure that you could do that. Like, totally, they are as well. So, yeah.
Yeah, you have to remember that. And everybody knows what you're going through as well. We're all in this same environment together. Like, people really do understand, and all you have to do is just talk things through. And that is really important for interviews and for general academic life. People are not looking to see you suffer. They're not looking to trip you up. They're actually just here to push you and to help you in the best way possible. So it's, really important to go in with that mindset and not just panic and be quite scared, as I know part of us, we all were like that when we first arrived. So I guess that's a nice note to end on. I mean, obviously this isn't the end of the story, and if Pembroke College perhaps is something that's not possible for you, don't worry, we have information on other colleges too. There are other ones out there, and so you'll perhaps want to keep searching. That's why our content here at the Oxbridge Formula kind of covers every single college at Oxford and Cambridge that you could ever wish to know about. So follow the links in the description, as I said, or just go out there and have a look yourself. And you can look at our blog and you'll discover the college which is for you, I'm sure. And you have our utmost support if you are looking to apply to Oxford, particularly at Pembroke. Back me up, guys. So thank you all for joining me today. I really hope our viewers will have learned as much about Pembroke as I certainly have. I guess I'll see you all again soon. Bye for now.